So next I get to put on the public affairs hat, or do we need to take a break? Okay.
Okay, so our next is business from City Council, which is our Senate Bill 54, California Values Act.
Correct. So very briefly, in October 5th of 2017, Governor Brown signed SB 54 into law. That law is known as the Sanctuary State Bill. It came into effect on January 1st. This law places limits on how state and local law enforcement agencies can cooperate with federal immigration authorities. Recently, a couple cities, one city actually opted out of that law. Other cities have passed resolutions, and some have joined in on a lawsuit related to this piece of legislation. This evening, this is an opportunity for the council to have a discussion on SB 54. I do know that you have a number of speaker cards, so if you want to handle those first and then go into your discussion, but if you have any other questions, I can answer them. And tonight, we're looking for council's direction on what you would like us to do as it relates to this SB 54.
Great, thank you. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and allow those that have filled out the speaker cards to go ahead and speak so that we can hear their concerns, issues. We have Pat Miller.
Okay, I'm going to be real short. I just wanted to let you folks know that the National Sheriff's Association, which represents all of California's elected county sheriffs, has filed as a friend of the court in the federal lawsuit against California. The filing states that a judge should rule in favor of the federal government and overturn the state immigration laws that endanger officers and public safety. I urge you to withdraw Yuba City from California's sanctuary state and join the federal lawsuit. We need to assure that our local police can cooperate with immigration officials without a court order to protect our citizens and law enforcement officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Next, we have Terry Thompson.
I would like for you people to vote against this is one of my main things. The other thing is the people of California are suffering from a tyrannical state of government which fails to provide a Republican form of governance, enables and supports across its southern border the invasion of the United States of America by illegal foreign nationals, and protects vicious criminals who commit outrageous acts of criminal and violence upon the citizens of America, all caused by a government and for a monoparty system led by a tyrannical dictator. This I'd like to make a quote. This is from the United States Constitution, Article 4, Section 4 states, "The United States shall guarantee every state in the Union a Republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislator or of the executive when the legislator cannot be convened against domestic violence." So I wish you to try to get this, and let's go with the state or the United States Constitution and not the Constitution of California and the government that is actually a dictator. He is ruining this state. This is a wonderful state. Let's get our country back. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Next, we have Carla Furga. It's okay, take your time.
Oh, I got it. Oh, yeah, I got it. Thanks. Hi, my name's Carla Verga, and I'm with the New California State Movement. We're losing a lot of our friends and family have left the state already. We're almost out of here. And part of the reason is that California has become a dictatorship. It is a monoparty system. The top two primary has ruined our elections. This next governor we have is probably going to be just as bad or worse as the one we have now. So I'm urging that we join the federal lawsuit and send a message, because I really believe that this governor and the attorney general are going to be arrested on treason charges and sedition. So let's send a message that Yuba City stands with the federal government and the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Next, we have Lloyd Langton.
Layton.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I had some prepared remarks here, but I can see the way that this is going. I think I'm just going to thank you all for your service. I appreciate the work that you put into this city, and I'm agreeing that we should do whatever we can to fight the sanctuary state measure. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Lloyd. All right. Are you going up? I'm out of cards.
As it are.
I'm with Lloyd. What has been said previously is absolutely true. We have to obey the Constitution. We have borders, and they're not being practiced. And allowing this sanctuary state tells people the laws don't count. I see two prior officers sitting right there. You know better. We have to obey laws. Otherwise, we're just going to end up being turned over and no civilization. So please, join the cities that are opposing SB 54. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. I don't have any other cards. Anybody else want to speak? Okay, we'll bring it back to council for further discussion.
To the mayor.
Huh? Oh. Hold on, Don.
Hi, I'm Steph Racino, and I sat through a long meeting just to get to this part. And since everyone said what I thought, I'll just go ditto. I just had two experiences. I was in New Orleans for a couple months, and I've seen what a deterioration of laws can do. Please stand for the law, stand for the Constitution, because ultimately, we're Americans. We're not subjects of California. We're citizens of the United States. So please get some courage and go with the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, is that it? Okay, now we'll bring it back to council for further discussion.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I think in the course of time, as sanctuary cities, sanctuary states have, or we're the only real sanctuary state, Washington has made an attempt at it. We need to look and be prepared as a city for what will be coming down the pipe, really, with where some of these, and especially this Senate bill, went in the governor's signature. But just so I can kind of summarize this for those that don't know what this really entails, because I get in debates with a number of different folks, especially after having the Appeal Democrat print comments from our local area, and I was one of those that was quoted in there. What this bill does is prohibits state and local law enforcement from holding illegal aliens on the basis of federal immigration detainers or transferring them into federal custody unless they've been convicted in the last 15 years for one of the listed 31 crimes, or are a registered sex offender. If not, they may only be held with a warrant from a federal judge. It also prohibits state and local law enforcement from asking anyone about their immigration status. And it prohibits the state and local law enforcement from sharing any information with federal immigration authorities that is not available to the general public. Prohibits the state and local law enforcement from using any of their money or personnel to investigate, interrogate, detain, detect, or arrest persons for immigration enforcement purposes. Prohibits state and local law enforcement from allowing federal immigration authorities to use space in their facilities. That's almost specifically talking about jails. Limits how and when state and local law enforcement can contact with federal immigration authorities. Grants discretion to state and local enforcement to cooperate even less with federal immigration authorities than the bill authorizes them to, but not more. In near universal recognition, or recognized and described in both its supporters and opponents as a sanctuary state bill, protects illegal aliens at the expense of citizens, will increase illegal immigration to California, and sends the message that illegal aliens are welcome everywhere in the state. The dilemma, and some of you have said, get the courage. I don't think that I personally lack the courage to say what I believe about this. I certainly have spoke out against the mayor of Oakland in her courage to stand behind this and to warn people that have been previously convicted of crimes that ICE was coming to the community to do raids. I find that to be an act against her oath of office. The oath of office that we take says that we solemnly swear, or those that don't like swearing, to affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and it goes on. It continues to reiterate the United States and the State of California. I've taken this oath numerous times in different positions as a law enforcement officer and certainly as an elected official. I hold to the values of that oath. And I believe that as I defend this and we speak out, or I speak out on this issue, that we need to continue to hold the values of that oath close to us. Unfortunately, it puts us into a position of where the federal government is saying one thing and the state government is saying something else. But what we can do as a local government is certainly to pass a resolution that puts us in opposition to the actions signed by the governor of this state. That's all I have.
Anyone else? Yes.
Concur with everything Councilman Buckland just said. These laws, everything is so new now. You have difference of opinion, federal saying one thing, many folks in the state saying another, cities, some of them stepping out saying another. But I tell you, in principle, personally, completely disagree with this SB 54. It puts law enforcement and our public at greater risk. It doesn't help anybody, or in my opinion, anything, except the folks that are here illegally. One comment was made about an invasion from our southern border. I want to be clear, this is not a racial issue. You need to be here. Immigration, it's what America's built upon, especially California, and we're even proud of our diversity here in Yuba City. And I say, welcome, just do it legally. Just do it legally. And it's also to circumvent this this thing. I think it's a slap in the face and affront to the folks who did take the time and go through that process and stand in line and be here legally. Mm-hmm. And we need to stand up, and I think at the time, and maybe an ordinance is a little premature, but a resolution I think is very appropriate at this time for us to publicly declare as a council and as a city, as us as the policy-making body, that we do not believe in this, we do not support it, we do not want to put our law enforcement and our public in jeopardy. Again, welcome, but do it legally. That's it.
Exactly. Any other comments?
You silver-tongued devil, you.
Any other
It's easy when
comments?
it's
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I did a little study on a couple of opinions from the Supreme Court because somebody had put something in the paper, an opinion based upon an Antonin Scalia 1997 ruling or opinion that it was a federal in this I think it was Arizona, Montana, and one or two other states that were implementing certain regulations without the state's the federal government's permission. And the federal government, it had to do with background checks for getting guns and firearms. The federal government was in the process of developing some standards and stuff and some recommendations in the study, and these states went ahead and implemented what they wanted themselves. Well, in that case, the states won because it was the federal government was already developing, and it would be eventually superseded by the federal government. But then in 2012, Arizona versus United States, Anthony Kennedy, the Supreme Court Justice, put an opinion out based upon this issue specifically having to do with immigration. And the Arizona had implemented some where you could go and you pulled them over. You could, if they looked like they were a foreigner or whatever, you can ask them for their paperwork to prove that they're a U.S. citizen. And the Supreme, the USA prevailed on that because they were putting creating their own immigration law when they have no right to do that as a state. That is specifically the right of the federal government to do for immigration. That's one of the things you agree upon when you become a state of the United States of America. That's part of the charter that you accept. And they were fully in violation of that. I only looked up for that just to find out if there were cases of that type of decision made. And this is 2012. So if you hear any others trying to say something other than that, especially the Antonin Scalia one, you now have one is Arizona versus United States in 2012 that actually upholds the federal government's immigration law as being the supreme law of the land on those issues. So I think that we need to go with a resolution opposing the signature and the sanctuary state 54. I think it's in the long run that the leaders of the state of California will fail because there is actually Supreme Court case law that actually supports the federal sovereignty on those decisions. So I think we should stand opposed.
Okay, thank you.
And through the mayor, just one additional comment. I referred to going down to Mexico with high school kids to build homes. Let me share with you what that looks like when you go south across the border. Every person that crosses the southern border into Mexico has to have a passport or a Western Hemisphere travel initiative card, which is the same. It's just a passport card, but it's just a cheaper way to get it. They have to fill out documents. Each person has to fill out documents to obtain a visa for 7 days. That's all you're allowed to enter Mexico with as a United States citizen. So when we look at our return north, the same requirement is made of us as U.S. citizens, is we have to show our documents that we are coming back across the border. They notify Mexico upon our exit that those visas have been terminated, and we move, back into California. The point I'm making is that Mexico has its rules. Mexico has, and this isn't all about Mexico. Mexico is trying to secure its southern border also from some of the movement that is coming up out of Central America and South America. So they're doing a lot of things, but they also, I think we sometimes simplify the process. Yeah, we have a border issue. Is there a fence there? Yeah, there is. Are there Border Patrol agents working all that area? Absolutely. Are there assurances that those that are going in and those that are coming out are doing so legally? Absolutely. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people that have come here, that have overstayed their legal term here. They've committed crimes. They've committed heinous crimes in a lot of cases. And it's not those that are just simply here as illegal. They can be dealt with. It's giving, outside of those 31 described crimes or being a registered sex offender, the penal code is full of felonies besides 31 and far more than 31 violent crimes that can be committed in the state of California. So with all of that, there are laws. We need to abide by those. We do, as law-abiding citizens, we do that. When those that come in and take the oath, as we all go to it, to the swearing-in ceremonies for new citizens, it's an amazing process to see that some of those folks have been in that process for 12 years and finally gain their citizenship. And God bless them for making that choice to become a United States citizen and going through those efforts.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm just going to make a comment along, since John just said that. My parents immigrated 50 years ago, and I remember as a teenager standing with my mom when she took the oath to become a U.S. citizen. I was a teenager, and I believe that office at that time was in Sacramento on L Street. That was so long ago that I believe it was L Street. Wow. And I remember that occasion sitting there. She was a nervous wreck. She doesn't speak English, but she was studying that history to make sure that she can answer and say that oath with confidence. And my mom studied day and night, and that moment when she became that U.S. citizen was the proudest moment. And we have the actual certificate. She keeps it. It's in a safe box. That's her whole world. And my dad was actually became a U.S. citizen much earlier, so I don't even remember his, but I vividly remember hers, and it is a very, very proud moment. And then, you know what? The next step, she was so excited to go and vote. So that's the pride that we hold. And to be here legally, do the work that you need to do, the hard work that becomes behind it, and then teaching all of the young kids to follow through and hold that pride of the work that we all do to be here. And we should hold that, with our chin up. And we are going to fight and protect the U.S. Constitution. We all take the oath. I've taken it several times as well for different positions that we hold, and obviously as an elected official as well. But just at work, I mean, we sign these things all the time. It's so important, and I will continue to stand by that and protect and serve. And I believe the resolution we should move forward. I'm in opposition of 54 as well.
I'll just be short and sweet because there's no need to repeat. I'm on the same page with the rest of the council to make the resolution. And while I'm here, I'd like to make the motion to make the resolution for,
Okay.
yes, give direction, excuse me, staff's direction
Section to
to make the resolution. Thank you.
So, Mr. Hayes, do we need a resolution, or I feel like
don't-
we have the
don't-
direction?
We don't need a resolution. We received direction from council. We'll be coming back with a resolution opposing SB 54.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go.
Perfect.
Okay, I think that, then we're done with that one, right? No, we've given staff direction to do so.